The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencer's Edge Show.
Welcome back to the Influencer's Edge. This is the show that colors outside the lines, disconnects the dots, and thinks outside the box. The show that irritates, invigorates, and any other eights you care to think of. I don't know. I'm out of ammo there because I haven't had my afternoon coffee. So I promised my guest today that I would make this the most interesting podcast he's ever done. I intend to fulfill that promise. So welcome, Bryan Wetzel. Hey, Bryan.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Where are you joining us from today?
I am in Dallas, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta, basically.
Dallas, I've heard of Alpharetta and Roswell and all those places. I thought Dallas was in Texas, but all right. So, Bryan,
yeah, we get that a lot.
You are an entrepreneur and author with over 3 decades of experience. You've successfully launched and managed companies across various industries. Good for you. I want to ask you a question about this. So right off the bat, I want to pause because so many people think about or have a dream about launching companies. They don't realize the tremendous amount of work that goes into it. So when you launch a company, how much of it is you just have a gut feeling and inspiration? And then do you have a part of you that says, once you've got your inspiration, do you have a part of you that is sort of a critic that says, wait a minute, slow down, look at the assumptions? How do you know you're making a good decision here?
So I can answer that pretty clearly. So when I was younger, it was gut or desire, but that didn't always lead to a good ending. What I learned over the years, and whenever I do speeches, which is about 4 times a year to small business groups or entrepreneurs, the first thing I ask them in the crowd is, how many of you have put together a business plan? And if they don't raise their hand, I tell them, you don't even really need to be here, because you have no idea if your business is going to work unless you can see it on paper. You need to be able to write out all of the processes you're going to do to get it open, keep it running, keep it successful. You need to see that spreadsheet show you that you can actually make this work, and not by a little, because you'll always lie to yourself a little bit. You'll say, we can get this much business and our expenses will be this low, but that's not the reality of life. And a lot of times expenses sneak up on you. But if you can't see it work out on paper, and a lot of times I have had people ask me to invest in a business, and I'll say, well, let me do up a business plan, and I'll go through it, and then I'll come to them and say, how are we going to get past these obstacles? And they a lot of times will say, well, there's other businesses doing it, so clearly there's a way. And I said, but that's not the answer I'm looking for.
Right.
I don't want to waste my money trying to figure it out. We need to know this before we start dropping checks. And most of the time I don't invest, or I don't start a business. At the end of the day, you you have to be willing to walk away from the idea. If you're so
Whoa,
married
pause,
to it in
pause,
your
pause,
heart,
pause, pause.
yeah,
Say that again. My audience needs to hear it. It's so contrary to what we hear. Just believe in yourself and you'll make it work somehow. Say it
yeah.
again. People need that cold, wet slap in the face.
I'll say it like this. I always tell people that you cannot love the business idea. Don't fall in love with the business idea because then you can't walk away from it. You want it so badly in your heart, but you know, with I often tell my kids, I say, look, follow your heart, but take your head with you. Your
Ha!
heart, your heart will lie to you because your heart wants what it wants, but
Whoa,
you need
say it
your
again.
head
I'm
to.
sorry to interrupt. You're dropping gold. And I told you before the show that
You
when you
did.
drop gold and you don't realize you're dropping gold, I'm going to pause you. Say it again. No one wants to hear it, but it's so true. Say it again,
Yeah.
please.
Follow your heart always, but take your head with you. Your head needs to keep your heart in check and vice versa, but mostly your head needs to keep your heart in check. And you need to be willing to walk away from something that's not a good idea. And too many people don't. And then what happens is they start, like, when you're in a business that's not functioning well and it's costing you a lot of money, the stress is enormous. You already work very hard and long hours when you have your own business. Why do you want to amplify that trying to save it right out of the gate?
You
Come
said
into
something
a
more
business
succinct.
that
Forgive me,
really is already working.
forgive me for stepping, but you said something even more succinct, even more E
Mhm.
equals MC squared. You said the heart will lie,
Yeah, it will.
and
I
no one.
use that analogy, by the way, because it's sort of like we've all known someone, a friend who's been in a relationship, and we know that it's a toxic relationship. It's not working out. Yes. And, but they don't leave because they just want this relationship to work. In their heart, they want it to work. They've invested time, but that doesn't mean it's a healthy situation. And a lot of people, until they've gotten a small business that really, really, really hurt them, won't learn that lesson. Do you know how many people will tell me, I've always wanted to own a restaurant? And I say, well, why? And they say, because it just seems like it's so much fun. I'm like, I have owned a restaurant. It's not fun.
And it's
When it was
not
going
master
great, it was, but when it wasn't, it was a lot of work. And when people don't show up, or if you don't have a general manager, you know who has to show up to keep it
You do.
running?
The business owner has to.
Exactly. And so in my last restaurant, my wife basically said it's the restaurant or me
Ooh,
because we were
who
having
did you
trouble
pick?
keeping a general manager. We were having trouble keeping bartenders. This was, a year and a half or two after COVID. And it was just always me. I would have to show up sometimes in the morning and then go back in the evening and close. And I wasn't happy. It was miserable. Um, so don't get into that situation if you don't have to. It needs to be something you really know what you're doing and you know that it's going to work out. And if you can't see it work out on paper, and by the way, when I first started, I'm 57, almost 58. When I started my first business, I went out and bought a book like this thick of how to do a business plan. And it was daunting and it was boring. It was the most boring read. Now I use liveplan.com. They're not a sponsor, not paying me anything. They have a really good setup. You go in and it walks you through everything. And I highly recommend that everyone make a plan and see if you can make it work and see how it's going to work. See what the expenses are. You know how many times too, I'll have someone say, "Can you help me? We're doing I just had this a couple years ago. People they had their own sub shop and they were making the buns and the bread from scratch and they were doing the sandwiches from scratch. And I said, well, they were having trouble making money. I said, why are you charging what you're charging? They said, well, because Subway charges this. And I said, well, okay. First of all, Subway gets deals on food that you don't get because they're such a huge corporation and they order such bulk. And I said, and you know what? If I come to you, it's like going to a bagel shop where the guy makes the bagels. I'll pay him more because they're fresh bagels than I'm going to pay if I go to Kroger or another grocery store where they're mass produced. And I was trying to explain to him that he doesn't need to compete on a price level with Subway. He can't. But if he had done a business plan, he would have known that that price point wasn't going to profit. And so now he's stuck in a business and nobody wants to buy it because he can't show on paper that he's made a profit in the last 3 years.
Here's something that comes up for me as you're speaking. I've had the good fortune to have many mentors, and one of my first mentors is a guy by the name of Gary Halbert. It doesn't matter whether you've heard of him or not. Gary, in his seminars, used to do this challenge. He said, we're going to open competing hamburger stands. I'm going to offer you any advantage you want over me. What advantages? You can pick three. And people would say, better tasting meat, top quality side dishes. One person even said topless waitresses. And Gary said, you can have all of those. You know how I'm going to beat you? Give me a starving crowd. That's and so that really hit me. So my
Yeah.
feedback to you, my question for you, and again, this we're hardly even getting through the biography because this is my genuine curiosity.
Mhm.
Everything can look good on paper, but if there's no market, if you don't have a real market, Gary said
Right.
great copywriters, great business people are students of markets. If the
Hmm.
market's saturated or people just don't want it, how do you account for that when you're going through your decision-making process?
Well, if you do a business plan correctly, it shouldn't be something that you write in a couple days or 3 or 4 days. You should actually do a little intelligence on your market. Is there something else in the area that's doing what you're doing? If so, how are they doing? Are there a bunch of them? Maybe the market's saturated. I'll tell you to maybe a better answer to that is one of the things I had to learn, and a lot of people will never learn this. Unfortunately, people who invest in businesses know this because they've been around long enough. The worst thing you can do is try and get an investment for something that is new and not being done. You would have more luck raising $10 million dollars to start the next Facebook than you would to start something that no one's ever seen. You can go to the investors and you can say, no one's ever seen this. We're going to be the first. So everybody will come rushing to us. But the way business people see that is there's no market. And you can't show me that there is a market because there's nothing to compare it to. But I know there's a market for Facebook and we can move their people over to our idea that simply because we don't have to educate them on what social media is. But so the same thing should apply when if you're going to open up a business in your local area, you need to figure out whether people really want that and is it really necessary. Sometimes you'll see people, they'll try and make a business, small business that is, there might not be, there's a boutique near me right now. They're struggling, but they're competing. They can't compete on a price level, and I don't think they understand that their idea was that since we'll be the only boutique, everybody will come to us. But that's not necessarily true, and you have to go out and do a little market research. You may even have to pay a little PR company to do some for you. Um, Also, find out in your area. Most real estate agents can get you data on the households, the average income to the households. Find out if you have an area that is flush with people who make money. That makes a difference. If you have upper middle class people around your business, you're more likely to get a flow of traffic than you are if you have lower middle class. And that's just a function of having money to spend.
You said something at the beginning of that answer that calls to mind what one of my other great gurus said. He said, pioneers wind up with arrows in their backs.
Yes.
I think that's a good metaphorical way of saying what you. I know there's someone
Yeah.
in the audience who's going to challenge you. They're going to say, well, what about Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs created things that people didn't even know they wanted. And look what
Ah,
he
but I
managed.
have an answer for that.
Yeah, I
I'm a
want to
huge
hear. I
Steve
know.
Jobs fan, and if you read his book, the book about him that was written, that he had the gentleman write it before he died, and he finished it after Steve died. First and foremost, Steve had two businesses before Apple that failed, so he learned from those. But number one, uh, and this holds true, and this kind of contradicts the earlier, but it doesn't if we map it out farther. So one of the things when he was doing the iPhone, a reporter came up and asked him, "Did you go out and do market research, ask people what they wanted in a phone?" Because you remember before the smartphone, there was a BlackBerry, but that was about it.
Oh,
Everything else was just a straight phone.
yep,
And he said, "No, I'm not asking people because they don't know what they want. They'll tell you that they want these things that they'll never use."
very true.
And that's very true. I have a gym right now. If I was to ask people, "Do you want an outdoor adult playground?" They would say yes because they want the option. That doesn't mean they'll come and use it. It doesn't mean that I'll sign more people up. And so you have to be careful about the intelligence you do gain from talking to people. But I think that the people like Steve Jobs, and there's others, Elon is one, they are doing something that is so. I mean, let's face it, the first time I got my hands on an iPhone, I could not believe all the things that I could do with it. Think about all
Me too.
the industries that were ruined by the iPhone. That
Love it.
you don't need them anymore because the phone does it for you. So
Brilliant.
that's an exception because he can point to the fact that I made life more efficient for people. Now he also on the side made other problems, but I
Yes,
don't
he
know that
did.
he saw those, number one. And number two, people forget this, that he didn't let his kids use the phone or the tablet more than 2 hours a day, and they couldn't
Smart.
use it after 5 o'clock.
Smart.
Because he saw that they were getting, he wanted it to be a tool for efficiency. He didn't want it to be something that ran your life. And
It
he was
sort of
somebody
begs,
who was always thinking about things. I don't think he would have wanted to be playing games on a phone or his
it begs
kids.
the question, Brian. Sometimes we can have the best business plan. You can do your research, and something comes along that's so disruptive that there's
Yeah.
no way you could have foreseen it. An early
Yeah.
example would be people who made buggy whips and horse carriages and were competing. I like to
Right.
tell this joke. It's an original joke. Two buggy whip manufacturers are sitting there, and a Model T goes putting, putting, putting by, and one of them says, "You'll never get me in one of those old newfangled contraptions," not realizing it was going to replace them completely. So
Yeah.
I'm just thinking AI is now disrupting. If you're a software engineer, forget it. You're gone. So
Yeah.
many different things will wreck. I'll give you one more example. I want to make this interview about you, but when someone
I got it.
really engages me, I have to feed back because you're
Yeah.
in my brain here. I had a coach who charged me 30,000 fucking dollars for showing us how to text, giving out a text number, and then creating a bunch of reports once they opted into your text messaging. Now, what's the problem with that?
It
Didn't
was
replace my
$30,000.
QR codes. QR code.
Yeah.
No one's going to do it. So it's down the tubes because of a technological innovation. This is amazing. Let's keep going if you don't
With
mind.
AI, real quick, I have a theory that what you're going to see in 10 years is that blue collar workers are going to be the ones making all the money,
Absolutely.
and white collar workers are going to be the ones who are struggling because the guy that comes to fix your plumbing or your air conditioning, he's not getting replaced for quite a
Nope.
while.
Nope.
And he is going to be able to charge whatever he wants because nobody grows up anymore knowing how to fix anything like I did.
Guilty.
Um, so you're going to have, uh, I just feel, I think that the blue collar workers are the people who are going to be safe. If I was, my kids are in their mid 20s now, but if I was guiding them into school now, I'd probably say, look, you should get a trade. along with your college if you still want to go to college. I
Absolutely.
know, listen, my daughter knows a kid in his mid 20s. He got his certification as a welder, and he got a second certification to be able to weld for airplanes. Um, and we have a local airport here that has private jets and stuff that come in and out of it. Not only does he make 300 an hour
Whoa,
for regular welding, but he's on their emergency call list. So if a plane comes in at 2 in the morning and that person needs to get back off into the air after refueling, but they have something that needs welded, you're going to pay him 1,000 an hour to come out there and fix it for you right away.
that's crazy.
And
That's
so
what
he's making a lot of money right now in his, I think he's 26.
that's freaking amazing. I agree with you 100%. There's something else that I want to dive into here. I went through a lot of things here. The importance of a businessman with blah blah blah. Now you produce commercials, you produce television pilots. Was that in Hollywood or in another?
No.
Where did you do that?
Most of that was done in Georgia. So the you people don't realize that Georgia for the past 20 years has put out more movies and TV shows than Hollywood has. Um, One of the things the previous governors did that was brilliant was they did tax credits for production. And they didn't just do normal tax credits. You can sell the credits. And
Wow,
why that's important is, let's say you're trying to fund your movie and a giant corporation says, "Look, I'll give you $500,000 if I can take your $700,000 tax credit." So it's a win-win for both people. And now other states have started to replicate that. You're seeing more productions in other places, but here we also, in Tennessee, was where Scripps was based. So all of HGTV and all these different channels that they run, sports, Fox Sports South was here at the time. I did stuff for them. I did a lot of stuff. The Golf Channel is in Florida and other places. So
smart,
I
smart, smart,
a lot
smart.
of the commercials were regional too. So they were in the Southeast. And then yeah, I did a comedy golf show. We were kind of the Caddyshack of golf TV, and we aired on Mav TV, but we were traveling, so we shot all over the country. It was
That sounds
essentially a
fun.
destination. It was a lot of fun. It
We are
was a ton
actually
of fun. This is the thing about how fun it was too, because not only were we going to these resorts to shoot, but when we were still deciding where we would be going to shoot the next season, you'd be getting courted by all these 4 and 5 star resorts to come
uh,
out and then take you to the spa. You golf for 2 days, and then they'd be like, and then we would leave and say, okay, well, we'll let you know. And so, we can only do so many destinations each season. Um, but that was the best part, honestly, was all the travel and how
you
you
miss
get
it?
treated.
Do you miss
What's
it?
that?
Do
I
you
do.
miss
Yeah.
it?
Oh, I miss it. I
Ha-
do. And one of the things too is when I first started my production company, LaFace Records was here, which Babyface founded, and there was another record company close by, and then Nashville was there. So I did a lot of music videos back when I was younger. Music videos were the best because when you do a corporate video, it's very bland and planned out, and it's got a certain message. It's got to be, and then the legal team for the corporation has to look at it and make sure they're not making any claims that can get them sued. When you do a music video, they just want, like, what kind of crazy shit can you come
I
up with
danced
that
in
we
one,
can do?
Brian.
What's
I
that?
danced. I danced in a music video
You did.
for a
Whose
Korean.
video?
It was a Korean rapper group called Uptown 4000 or something like that. The one of the guys
Uh,
going to prison for felony murder as part of a drug deal, but they were big
yeah.
fans of my seduction stuff. It was in Atlanta. of all places. I
Oh, was it?
still have a picture or two, one picture, excuse me.
Bless you.
Tracy, don't edit it. This is raw and unscripted. We are at the end of our time. My audience is going to want to stay in the conversation with you. So how did we do that, Bryan? How does my audience stay in touch?
Well, we put everything in one website, so I didn't have to give out multiple social media accounts. So if you
Good.
go to BryanThomasWetzel.com, BryanThomasWetzel.com, everything I've done is up in there. You can see some of the old production stuff. You can see other podcasts. There's some braggadocious stuff on that site, whatever is
Love
needed to promote.
braggadocious.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not humble. And if you can do what you say you can do, you ain't bragging. All right, Bryan, thank you so much. My producer will reach out and let you know when it's going to air. Ladies and gentlemen,
Sounds good.
once again, we
Thanks for
deliver
having
the
me.
goods. You're welcome. Once again, we deliver the goods on the Influencer's Edge. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye, Bryan.
Bye.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode.